Alright, so in this season preview for the Vegas Golden Knights, I'm going to be taking a look at their roster, getting some numbers on the team, and also giving a playoff prediction for them as well. First year in the Stanley Cup Finals. They've never been able to get back there since then. That's definitely the team's goal, to win a Stanley Cup while they're in their window right now that they've built. Done a pretty good job of putting some pieces in place for that, but let's see if it's good enough. Alright, so first off, their power play last year was 17.8%. That was good for 22nd in the league. Their penalty kill was 86.6%. That was first in the league. They were third in goals for with 190, and they were first in goals against with 122. Vegas, one strong suit they've definitely had as a team throughout their first 4 years is team defense. You look at their back end the first few years, up until they brought in Pietrangelo. I mean, they had some good guys like Nate Schmidt and stuff, but it was never a star-studded group of defensemen. Also throwing Shea Theodore in there as well, who's a great guy for them. But they've always been a very well-coached team throughout the Gerard Gallant era and also now in the Pete DeBoer era. So let's get to their lines now. On the first line, I have Max Pacioretty, Chandler Stevenson, and Mark Stone. And Max Pacioretty and Mark Stone, two very solid wingers. Max Pacioretty, the guy seems like he can score 30 goals in his sleep. Mark Stone's also around that 30-goal range every year as well. He's a big point producer, Stone is. And he's the captain, obviously, the emotional leader for Vegas. And he's a great defensive forward for them as well. Chandler Stevenson on that first line, I'm not so sure if that's a good spot for him. Obviously, he does play there out of necessity. Some people might say, well, they can put William Karlsson up on that top line and he can be the first line center. I don't really think they want to split up that famed Marchessault, Karlsson, and Smith line. And that's one thing I noticed when I was writing their lines down, is where they lack most is probably the center position. Second line, we have the aforementioned Jonathan Marchessault, William Karlsson, and Riley Smith line. And these guys have been playing together for a long time. They were Vegas's first line in their inaugural season. Now they've been demoted to being the second line, as obviously Pacioretty and Stone came in. Those guys are more of legit first line guys. But no slight to that second line for Vegas, though. They're very good as well. On the third line, I have Matthias Janmark, Nolan Patrick, and Evgeny Dadonov. That was a great trade by Kelly McCrimmon, bringing in Evgeny Dadonov in exchange for Nick Holden. Dadonov, while he had a disappointing year in Ottawa, I think he can bounce back and he can bolster Vegas's offense a little bit. And they're definitely going to need Dadonov to do that, considering that Alex Tuch won't play till at least December for them. He's out with a shoulder injury. He had shoulder surgery back in June, but they said the timeline for recovery is about 6 months, so probably not till December. On the third line, I have William Carrier, Brett Howden, and Nicholas Waugh. And yes, the fourth line for Vegas will look very different this year with no Ryan Reeves on it, but they do bring in Brett Howden, who I think has more offensive upside than he's shown so far in his career. And that forward group is pretty good, a little weak at center. I would like to see them bolster their center depth a little bit. I mean, maybe Nolan Patrick eventually becomes a #1 center in this league. Wouldn't that be a great find for Vegas if they were able to get Nolan Patrick up to his full potential and be that #1 center, at least be a good second line center, and then he can, take the spot of Chandler Stevenson at the #1 position for Vegas. And they'll look even more dangerous once Alex Tuch comes back from injury. Shift to defense now. On the first pairing, I have Alec Martinez and Alex Pietrangelo. On the second pairing, I have Braden McNabb and Shea Theodore. And on the third pairing, I have Nicholas Hague and Zach Whitecloud. In goal, we have the changing of the guard this year. Robin Lehner, this time around, will undisputably be the #1 goalie for the Vegas Golden Knights. There won't be any more of that competition with him and Marc-Andre Fleury. As we know, Fleury was shipped off to Chicago. And the backup will be Laurent Brossoit. Maybe Logan Thompson, the good goaltending prospect, beats out Brossoit for that backup spot. Extras at forward, I have Keegan Colasar, Sven Barchi, Peyton Krebs, and Patrick Brown. Extras at defense, I have Dylan Coghlan and Jake Bischoff. Eventually, Peyton Krebs, as of right now anyways, will be their #1 center. Someday anyways, there's no doubt about that. Hopefully for Vegas he can develop. Cody Glass was supposed to be that guy for Vegas eventually. Never turned out though. He went off to Nashville, so they're hoping things are different with Peyton Krebs. And if his development could speed up, that would be a godsend for the Vegas Golden Knights, as they really could use some help at the center ice position right now. I think if you look at Vegas, they're a very competitive team. They're one of the more dominant teams in the Western Conference. I mean, yeah, some people say, well, they play in an easy Pacific Division. And yeah, that is true, but they're still a very good team. But the center ice position, like I've been harping on in this video, they really need to fix that in order to become a legitimate #1 team in the league. A legitimate Stanley Cup contender too, most importantly. Alright, now for a playoff prediction. Yes, the Vegas Golden Knights. No question they make the playoffs. It's just a matter of how much are they going to lead the Pacific Division by. I think they easily win that division without a doubt. It is one of the easiest divisions in the league, if not the easiest. That's no slight to Vegas. I mean, that's where they happen to play in. That's where they're geographically located. But they're by far and away the best team in that division. They should run away with the Pacific Division. For Vegas, it's just a matter of how good can they be in the playoffs, and can they finally break this kind of new label they've got the last few years of being chokers. Yeah, they don't go out in the first or second round a lot. They usually get to at least the third round. Maybe some stiff competition this year for Vegas in the Pacific compared to the 1920 season. But I still think they're going to win that division by a lot. They do have a pretty strong roster on paper. They're probably not the most star-studded group in the world. They do have a lot of very good players. I mean, they have some stars like Mark Stone, Pacioretty, you know, even Marchessault throw in there, Alex Pietrangelo as well. But I think it's the way they play team defense that makes them such a favorite to win the Stanley Cup. They're always a very hard team to play against. They've always been a very hard team to play against throughout their first 4 years in the league. And hats off to Pete DeBoer. I know a lot of people dump on this guy saying he's a bad coach and stuff. I disagree. I think he's one of the better coaches in the league. And Vegas' downfall the last couple playoffs has been their lack of goal scoring. I think now with Dadonov on the third line, especially once they get Alex Tuch back, that should definitely help them. And now they have a third line that can legitimately score you some goals, whereas in years past they didn't have that. And Alex Tuch was only the real good goal scorer on that third line, and then they had more grinding type players on there. So now they have Dadonov, and then like I said, once they get Tuch back, they should be in pretty good shape. And hopefully for Vegas' sake, they're not going to be finding themselves in the same position they were the last 2 years, where they are eliminated because of their lack of goal scoring. Alright, so there it is, a season preview for the Vegas Golden Knights. Please let me know what you all think in the comment section down below. Also, please do like and subscribe and share this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.